Out of the gate and off for a walk went Hairy Maclary from Donaldson's dairy. And Hercules Morse, as big as a horse, with Hairy Maclary from Donaldson's dairy. Bottomly pots, covered in spots. Hercules Morse, as big as a horse, and Hairy Maclary from Donaldson's dairy. Muffin Maclay, like a bundle of hay. Bottomly pots, covered in spots. Hercules Morse, as big as a horse. And Hairy Maclary from Donaldson's dairy. Bitzer Maloney, all skinny and bony. Muffin Maclay, like a bundle of hay. Bottomly pots, covered in spots. Hercules Morse, as big as a horse. And Hairy Maclary from Donaldson's dairy. Schnitzel von Krumm, with a very low tum. Bitzer Maloney, all skinny and bony. Muffin Maclay, like a bundle of hay. Bottomly pots, covered in spots. Hercules Morse, as big as a horse. And Hairy Maclary from Donaldson's dairy. With tails in the air, they trotted on down past the shops and the park to the far end of town. They sniffed at the smells and they snooped at each door. When suddenly, out of the shadows, they saw Scarface Claw, the toughest Tom in town. Said Scarface Claw. Off with a yowl, a wail and a howl, a scatter of paws and a clatter of claws, when Schnitzel von Krumm, with a very low tum, Bitzer Maloney, all skinny and bony, Muffin Maclay like a bundle of hay, Bottomly pots covered in spots, Hercules Morse as big as a horse, and Hairy Maclary from Donaldson's dairy, straight back home to bed. Slinky Malinki and Sticky Beak Sid were a troublesome pair. Do you know what they did? Alone in the house, one mischievous day, they opened a door and they started to play. They shredded a shirt and they fought with a shoe, a long woolen scarf and a petticoat too. Then Slinky Malinki jumped high off the floor. He swung on a handle and opened a door. They tangled the towels and hung on a rope. They paddled in powder and slid on the soap. Then Slinky Malinki jumped high off the floor. He swung on a handle and opened a door. They tipped out some pillow slips, tied up in pairs. They rolled up a carpet and bowled down the stairs. Then Slinky Malinki jumped high off the floor. He swung on a handle and opened a door. They tattered some letters and battered some books. They scattered some paper clips, pencils and hooks. Then Slinky Malinki jumped high off the floor. He swung on a handle and opened a door. They crept up on cushions and vases of flowers. They battled with curtains for hours and hours. Then Slinky Malinki jumped high off the floor. He swung on a handle and opened a door. What a schmozzle! The things that they did! Slinky Malinki and Sticky Beak Sid. They stirred up some spoons and a bowl full of fruit in a sea of spaghetti and vegetable soup. They knocked over packets. They went for a ride. Then came a scratch and a rustle outside. So Slinky Malinki jumped high off the floor. He swung on the handle and opened the door. Slinky Malinki was blacker than black, a stalking and lurking, adventurous cat. He had bright yellow eyes, a warbling wail, and a kink at the end of his very long tail. He was cheeky and cheerful, friendly and fun. He'd chase after leaves and he'd roll in the sun. But at night, he was wicked and fiendish and sly. Through moonlight and shadow, he'd prowl and he'd pry. He crept along fences. He leapt over walls. He poked into corners and sneaked into halls. What was he up to? At night, to be brief, Slinky Malinki turned into a thief. All over town, from basket and bowl, he pilfered and pillaged. He snitched and he stole slippers and sausages, biscuits, balloons, brushes and bandages, pencils and spoons. He pulled them. He dragged them. He heaved them until he'd carried them home to his house on the hill. One rascally night, between midnight and 4, Slinky Malinki stole more than before. Some pegs and a teddy bear dressed up in lace, a gardening glove from McCafferty's place, a tatty old sneaker, a smelly old sock, and Jennifer Turkington's pottery smock. A squishy banana, some glue and a pen, a cushion from Oliver Tulliver's den, a clock and some bottles, a pair of blue jeans, a half-knitted jersey, a packet of beans. He pulled them, he dragged them, he heaved them until he'd carried them home to his house on the hill. Then Slinky Malinki, rapscallion cat, piled them up high in a heap on the mat. The glue toppled over and gummed up the pegs. The jersey unravelled and tangled his legs. He tripped on the bottles and slipped on the sock. He tipped over sideways and set off the clock. Crash went the bottles. Beep, beep went the clock. Row, 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 row went the dogs on the block. On went the lights. Bang went the door. And out came the family. 1, 2, 3, 4. "Oh, no!" they all said. "What a criminal cat! Tomorrow we'll have to take everything back." With a tangled-up middle and glue on his face, Slinky Malinki was deep in disgrace. Never again did he answer the call when moon shadows danced over garden and wall. When whispers of wickedness stirred in his head, he adjusted his whiskers and stayed home instead. with a twitch of his tail and a purposeful paw, down by the river crept Scarface Claw. He woke up a lizard. He startled a bee, and he bothered a blackbird high in a tree. Higher and higher he sneakily snuck, but up in the branches he suddenly stuck. He yowled. Harry Maclary was eating his meal. Jelly meat, biscuits, a snippet of veal. All of a sudden, he heard a strange sound. A yowling, a wailing that echoed around. Said Harry Maclary, and off he went. Hercules Morse was asleep in a glade, with his tail in the sun and his head in the shade. Then came the sound that echoed around. Said Hercules Morse, and off he went. Bottomly Potts was rolling about, with his feet in the air and his tongue hanging out. Then came the sound that echoed around. Said Bottomly Potts, and off he went. Muffin McClay was having a bath in the old wooden tub at the side of the path. Then came the sound that echoed around. Said Muffin McClay, and off he went. Bitzer Maloney was having a scratch as he lay in the sun in the strawberry patch. Then came the sound that echoed around. Said Bitzer Maloney, and off he went. Schnitzel von Krumm was digging a hole in his favourite spot by the passion fruit pole. Then came the sound that echoed around. Said Schnitzel von Krumm, and off he went. Impatient to see, together they came to the foot of the tree. They sniffed and they snuffled, they bustled around, and they saw what was making the terrible sound. Said Schnitzel von Krumm. Said Bitzer Maloney. Said Muffin McClay. Said Bottomly Potts. Said Hercules Morse. Said Harry Maclary. And said Scarface Claw. The din was so awful that uphill and down you could hear the cacophony all over town. Miss Plum brought a ladder and climbed up the tree. She rescued old Scarface. At last he was free. With a flick of his tail and a shake of each paw, off at a gallop went Scarface Claw. And back to their business and Donaldson's dairy went all of the others, with Harry Maclary. Maclary felt bumptious and bustly, bossy and bouncy, and frisky and hustly. He wanted to run, he wanted to race, but the main thing he wanted was something to chase. Grey Wecky Jones was hunting a bee. But along came Hairy Maclary and chased her up high in the sycamore tree. Butterball Brown was washing a paw. But along came Hairy Maclary and bustled him under a rickety door. Pimpernel Pew was petting a ball. But along came Hairy Maclary and chased her away over Pemberton's wall. Slinky Malinki was down in the reeds. But along came Hairy Maclary and hustled him into a drum full of weeds. Mushroom McGee was asleep on a ledge. But along came Hairy Maclary and chased her away through a hole in the hedge. Down on the path, by an old wooden rail, twitching a bit, was the tip of a tail. With a bellicose bark and a boisterous bounce, Hairy Maclary was ready to pounce. But around came Scarface Claw, who bothered and bustled him, rustled and hustled him, raced him and chased him all the way home. Down in the town, by the butcher's shop door, sat Harry Maclary from Donaldson's dairy. Out of the door came Samuel Stone. He gave Harry Maclary his tastiest bone. Then off up the street on scurrying feet, on his way to the dairy, went Harry Maclary. And chasing him home, with their eyes on the bone, went Hercules Morse, Bottomley Potts, Muffin Maclay, Bitzer Maloney, and Schnitzel von Krumm, with the very low tum. Hungrily sniffing and licking their chops, they followed him up, past the school and the shops. They came to the sign selling Sutherland's sauce. Through they all went, except Hercules Morse. They came to a hedge along Waterloo Way. Under they went. Except Muffin Maclay. They came to a yard full of dinghies and yachts. Round they all went, except Bottomley Potts. They came to a building site, cluttered and stony. Over they went, except Bitzer Maloney. They came to a wall by the house of Miss Plum. One of them jumped, but not Schnitzel von Krumm. So at last he was free to go home on his own. Harry Maclary, with all of his bone. In Riverside Hall, on Cabbage Tree Row, the Cat Club were having their annual show. There were fat cats and thin cats, tabbies and greys. Kick-up-a-din cats with boisterous ways. Cooped up in cages, they practiced their wails, while their owners fussed over their teeth and their tails. Out in the street, tied to a tree, Hairy Maclary was trying to see. He struggled and squirmed. He unravelled the knot, and dragging his lead, he was off at the trot. He bounced up the steps. He pounced through the door. He pricked up his ears, and he pranced round the floor. Flapping and flustering, bothering, blustering, leaving behind him a hiss and a roar. "Stop!" cried the president. "Collar him, quick!" But Hairy Maclary was slippery slick. He slid under tables. He jumped over chairs. He skittered through legs. And he sped down the stairs. In and out doorways. Through banners and flags, tangling together belongings and bags. Along came Miss Plum with a big silver cup. "Got him," she said, as she snaffled him up. Preening and purring, the prize winners sat with their rosettes and cups on the prize winners' mat. And who won the prize for the scruffiest cat? Hairy Maclary from Donaldson's Dairy. Down at the vet's there were all kinds of pets, with troubles and woes from their ears to their toes. Sniffles and snuffles, and doses of flu. Itches and stitches and tummy ache too. So many animals, watchful and wary. And Harry Maclary from Donaldson's Dairy. There were miserable dogs, cantankerous cats, a rabbit with pimples, and rickety rats, mice with the sneezes, a goat in a rage, and Cassie the cockatoo locked in her cage. Cassie had claws and a troublesome beak. She saw something twitch. So she gave it a tweak. She pulled it so hard that she plucked out a hair, and Harry Maclary jumped high in the air. A bowl full of mice was bundled about. Over it went, and the mice tumbled out. 4 fussy budgies with Grandmother Goff flew out of their cage when the bottom dropped off. Grizzly Macduff with a bottle brush tail leapt out of his basket and over the rail. The Popperdom kittens from Parkinson Place squeezed through an opening and joined in the chase. Barnacle Beasley forgot he was sore. He bumbled and clattered all over the floor. Then Custard the Labrador, Muffin Maclay, and Noodle the Poodle decided to play. They skidded and scampered, they slid all around, and bottles and boxes came tumbling down. What a kerfuffle! A scramble of paws, a tangle of bodies, a jumble of jaws. With squawking and yowling and mournful, they really were making a terrible row. Out came the vet. "I'll fix them," she said. But she tripped on a lead and fell over instead. Geezer the goat crashed into a cage. He butted the bars in a thundering rage. Cassie got mad. She rattled her beak. She saw something twitch. So she gave it a tweak. Tucked in a hidey hole under the stair lay a rickety basket in need of repair. A chewed-up old cushion, a blanket all worn, everything broken and smelly and torn. And under the blanket, his paws on his tum, happily snoring, lay Schnitzel von Krumm. He liked all the tatters. He liked every tear. The broken down edges, the holes, and the hair. The smell was so friendly. And as for the fit, if he needed to squeeze, did he mind? Not a bit. But, yuck, said his family. Time to say no. This beaten-up basket must instantly go. It's scruffy and dirty. It's hopelessly small. And we really can't have such a smell in the hall. So they lifted the basket and took it away. And bought him another, the very same day. He tried it for size. There was room for his tum. But it didn't smell friendly to Schnitzel von Krumm. The basket was smart and a much better fit. Was it cozy and comforting? No, not a bit. He made a new bed in a jumble of shirts, pajamas and towels and flowery skirts. But something was wrong with the smell and the fit. Was it cozy and comforting? No, not a bit. He made a new bed with the dusters and mops, the cleaners and brooms and preserving jar tops. But something was wrong with the smell and the fit. Was it cozy and comforting? No, not a bit. He made a new bed in a rack full of greens with the spinach and celery, parsley and beans. But something was wrong with the smell and the fit. Was it cozy and comforting? No, not a bit. He made a new bed at the side of the shed, in the daisies and dahlias, yellow and red. But something was wrong with the smell and the fit. Was it cozy and comforting? No, not a bit. Poor Schnitzel von Krumm. He sat on the stair and dreamed of his basket, the holes and the hair, the broken down edges, the blanket all worn, everything scruffy and smelly and torn. His ears drooped down, and his tail did too. Help, said his family. What can we do? So, back to the hidey hole under the stair went the battered old basket in need of repair. And back in a hurry went Schnitzel von Krumm, with a wag of his tail and a heave of his tum. The new one was smart and a much better fit, but when it had gone, did he mind? Not a bit. With pattering paws and a lolloping tum, down the front steps galloped Schnitzel von Krumm. Out on the drive, by the barbecue bar, the family loaded the trailer and car. In went the tent and the old red canoe, paddles and blankets and sleeping bags too. Such a scurrying bustle, a holiday hum. It was all of a puzzle to Schnitzel von Krumm. He meddled and snooped from the gate to the shed. He got under feet until everyone said, "We're all in a hurry. We must get away. So Schnitzel von Krumm, please keep out of the way." He scruffed into boxes. He climbed into bed. He drove them all mad until everyone said, "We are all in a hurry. We must get away. So Schnitzel von Krumm, please keep out of the way." At last they were ready. The packing was done. They gathered the children and counted each one. They checked up on Grandma, the food and the tent. They fastened their seatbelts and off they all went. Poor Schnitzel von Krumm. He whimpered and yowled. He sat by the gate and he howled and he howled. Oh, whoa, 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 whoa! His woebegone misery bothered Miss Plum. "No," she said, "surely that's Schnitzel von Krumm." Far out of town, at the side of the road, the family stopped and inspected the load. They started to worry. "We can't carry on. Something is horribly, terribly wrong." We packed all the children, the tent and canoe, the paddles and blankets and sleeping bags too. We tied down the surfboards and Grandma has come. But something is missing. Where's Schnitzel von Krumm? Oh, doom and disaster. What absence of mind. We just didn't notice. We've left him behind. Poor little Schnitzel. Alas and alack. We simply can't help it. We'll have to go back. But chasing behind, like a hurricane gust, came a skidding of tires and a billow of dust. Catching them up was speedy Miss Plum. And who was her passenger? Schnitzel von Krumm. What a commotion! He gamboled around in a frolicking frenzy, a rollicking bound. He capered in circles till, breathless at last, he sank in a heap at the edge of the grass. "Come," said the family, "let's get away. That's quite enough drama and fuss for today." They fastened their seatbelts and waved to Miss Plum as they set off together with Schnitzel von Krumm.